Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another one-on-one with the King Hater. In your screen, we have the legendary Jim Teachim of Three Guns. What is it?
Customs.
Three Guns Customs. You know, we doing this raw, so But yeah, so Brian, his son, one of his sons. Brian's the oldest or the youngest?
Brian's number 2 son.
Number two. Asked me, Styles, man, I'd like for you to do a one-on-one with my dad. And me and Jim talk all the time, no matter what track we're at. I learn a lot from the older guys. And that's the only way I can be who I am, to learn from people that's been there and done it before I did, and always be open to listening. A lot of people don't listen, think they know it all. So I said, okay, I'm going to come down here and have a sit down with Jim and see what's on his mind, because he always have stuff for me. Styles, why don't we do this? Think about this. And that's what keeps racing good around here, when we can go to the older guys that's been around to bring some of the stuff back to where it was. You know what I mean? So, Jim, let the people know a little bit about yourself, like first, like when you started in the racing game.
Okay, so I've been racing since Moby Dick was a minnow. I started in the early or late 69, 70, and I used to build cars and street race them. Won a lot of money on the street, established my kind of foothold in the street racing scene. And then for a while, that in the early 80s, we thought racing was going to go away because of the price of fuel and all that stuff was going crazy. And I kind of sold my street stuff off. I got rid of my Camaro that I had that I won a lot of money on the street with. And I started building a track car. So then the track car kind of morphed into, from a bracket car to we didn't have Top Sportsman then, but it was the fast bracket or the pro bracket. And then in the 80s, I got into pro stock. So that's when we started, running a pro stock type car, racing on that kind of level, running a lot of these different tracks all up and down North Carolina. And in the late 80s and early 90s, I actually competed in the Quick 8 races. Don Plemons had a Quick 8 race. We had Motor Mile, had a Mean 16. Then there was the Big Dog deal.
Right.
And we ran the Big Dog deal. And
at Piedmont, you ran at the
At Piedmont, I ran all the Big Dog series for 4 years straight. Okay. That's all we did was...
what car?
Huh?
What car did you run at the Big Dog?
Well, first I started out with Firebird.
Okay.
And then when I sold the Firebird in 2000, then we went back to the 57. We ran the 57. We ran the 57 in the Big Dog class, and Motor Mile Mean 16. In Mooresville, they had a Mad Dog.
Okay, let me quarterback this. In the Big Dog, what was the ETs to get in, and what time? Like what time of the year are we talking about? What years are we talking about?
Okay, in the early 90s, or 2000, 2000.
No, it had to be in the 90s because I was.
No, it was early 90s.
Yeah.
They when we started running Big Dog, a 440 car was the fastest car out there.
That's my point. I was trying to get at, because
it really accelerated quickly after that. Between then and say 2006 or 2008, it went from the 440s to 30s to, well, I qualified at Motor Mile number 3. Ricky Smith was a 415 and I was a 420. That was the fastest in the country at the time, 1/8 of a mile.
And what time of year was this?
That was
in the 90s.
It was in the early 90s, it was in 2000. It was probably in the mid 2000s, 2004, 5, 6, whatever it was, somewhere along that line. But anyway, that's how fast it escalated.
Right.
So, and then from there, we ran ADRL 10.5. We ran some limited top sportsman stuff. We dabbled in a lot of stuff because we didn't know where we wanted to be.
Right.
Okay, we were trying to figure out how to make money. So, used to be, years ago, you would be called to do a match race. So we would get $5,000 or $6,000 to do a match race.
What? Wait a
Twice
minute.
a year.
A piece or together?
Together.
Okay.
Like we'd bring a 2-car team. Like
Okay.
I was driving Mike's Cutlass,
Mm-hmm.
the Pro Stock car, Jerry Haas's old car, and Brian was driving my car. Okay, and we would go to Harold's, and we would get paid to go to Harold's.
So y'all racing each other?
They pay us a 2-car matchup.
How
And
many
it was
passes?
other tracks, 2 or 3, just depends. 3 cars.
$5,000. No wonder you was crying, man. And I start paying attention to that, not just because you was telling me. I always listen to the elders and people that's been there, done it, but it start making more sense when I start getting out there and I'm like, okay, well, if you somebody and somebody's calling you, you know, they need you. So it's not, you wasn't volunteering. You know what I mean? So it was the fans wanted to see it.
Okay, on that same note, Joe Lapone was tuning my car 2000 till whenever, I don't know. But anyway, we got in that conversation. So when Joe Lapone used to drive Bill Jenkins' car, and he'd show up and run against Bob Glidden or Frank Iconio or whoever the individual was he was racing,
Right.
they get $10,000 to show up at Suffolk Raceway and make 3 passes.
And what time of year was this?
That was back in the 80s. So I guess they had more respect for track owners, had more respect for them, or promoters had more respect for them, right?
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so fast forward, right? The reason why we liked the big dog thing was because if we qualified, we got $1,000. If we went out second round, we got $1,500, and then it was $4,000 payout. Same thing with Motor Mile, and same thing with Mad Dog. No entry fee. First round qualifiers, $1,000. You carried it home.
Right.
Now, we were running 5 inches back then.
Right.
How many runs can you get out of 5 inch?
Yeah, what? 50
A whole.
Yeah,
You don't
52
lean on it too bad. You can get a whole bunch of them.
Right.
I went a whole season one time, never had the heads off my motor, and every time and qualified a big dog 6 times in that year, and Motor Mile, and picked up $2,000 a weekend because it was Thursday. Every first month of the year was Thursday Big Dog, and every first Saturday of the year was Motor Mile. So now you have Motor Mile, which is the same program as Big Dog,
Right.
mean 16. So the cars had to be the same weight. They had to be the same. That was the same exact situation, only 2 different tracks. So
Right.
it was great.
Right.
And I didn't really care about winning. All I wanted to do is get past second round because I'm making money.
Right. Even as my saying, I always say, even when I lose, I win.
Yeah, because you get paid to win. But that was the environment that we were in, and it was nice. I got to race every weekend somewhere. You know, Mean 16 was like I said on Saturday, and then you had in between. You had MIR at the Creek. They had their Last Man Standing goofy
Right.
stuff. They had a
Right.
Wednesday night deal.
Yeah,
we would
Warm
get into
Wheels,
those.
Yeah, Mountain Motors
We
and
won
stuff.
one, we won a couple of those. There was all kinds of little stuff going on in different areas. But the majority of that stuff was Farmington, Mooresville, Don Plymouth, Quick 8. Everywhere we went, and we got paid.
Right.
They don't do that shit now.
Nah.
That shit, you're lucky to get a promoter to let you in the gate.
Well,
So-
that's where I came into play from watching y'all guys. I didn't start watching you until early 2000s. I seen y'all down at the custom, well, it wasn't custom season, it was called.
I won a bunch of them. I won King of the Beach
yeah,
3
the
times.
King, yeah, I went to the King of the Beach, and I seen the car, Gotham City car, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow, yours was one of the first cars I seen. they had painting on, they had a theme and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I can tell just by the way y'all rode in with the stack and all that stuff and people around, and I started paying attention to the car, y'all was winning. And y'all was real quiet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Y'all didn't do what guys do that now they got a whole lot of mouth and, you know, they figure they got to do what they got to do to become somebody. But y'all was actually out there doing it. And so, you know, I don't even know how we came across each other's path, but I guess when you see me out there racing and stuff, you came to me. You know, and we talked, and you was giving me knowledge on, why don't you try this, try that. And so it was real interesting to hear what y'all had to say, and I'm like, okay, our course from where I came in done ran this course. Now it's almost like we got to go back to where you started at to make it make sense. You know what I mean? Everybody said, oh, well, I want to get paid and all this stuff, but I always felt that you can't if you somebody. They called you because you was somebody. They ain't just call you and say, oh, let's look in the yellow pages and find Brian, somebody to come in match race. You got to put butts in the seats.
Right. So we had the Gotham City thing going on. We had a situation where we could go to tracks, and I didn't even get a chance to unload the car, and we'd sell $500 worth of T-shirts. That helped us fund our program.
Guys don't do that now. And
Okay.
let's say in the no-time world, and I don't understand why. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. But I would think it would make them, if they was to sell their product, people get to know who they are. Then somebody will call you and say, hey, man, I see you had a line over there. Man, can you come? Because the fans loved you. They was over there to come look at your car. You know what I mean? You got to have that.
Things have changed a lot in that area, too.
Yeah.
So here's another thing. As this progression went on from where I was to where I am now, let's say,
Right.
I would show up for the King of the Beach. And don't get me wrong, my car was a nice car, but it was nothing like what I got now.
Right.
Okay? But I pulled into the track, and I walked up to the gate, and I'm used to running NHRA. Them guys are on your ass about tech. You gotta have this, no, your seatbelts are not right, or
Right.
you know, it was just their anal of the whole safety thing, right?
Right.
I pulled in Colonial Beach, and the guy at the gate, I says, how much is to race? He said, oh, it's going to be $50. I said, okay. This was like Richie Clark had the deal, right? I said, okay, where's Tech? The guy's chewing tobacco. He spits it out and goes, oh, you could use those numbers. I go, I'm in trouble now. What the hell is this about? So I pulled into the lanes, and I had to run against a guy with an S10 pickup, and I swear to God, I looked over at his car, and he had 2 lug nuts on the front wheel. No helmet, and he's in shorts. I said, how about you go? I'll just go behind you.
Right.
Okay, so there's a different level of professionalism that gets you to the promised land. When I had my Firebird, it was a really, really nice car, but it wasn't a Haas car, wasn't a Bickle car, wasn't a name car, wasn't a premier car that everybody had.
Right.
But the only people that had those cars at the time was the Mark Pawicks, the Bill Jenkins, the Johnsons, all them guys,
Ricky.
the Ricky Smiths of the world. They're the guys that had that kind of car. Well, I kind of coattailed into that program through Todd Tutterow. Todd used to run with us because Todd used to have drive Mike's car. And I got to really understand. I used to think I knew something about racing. Well, I got news for you. I forgot more than Todd Tuttle or whatever know. But in the interim, he kind of gave me the roadmap for success. You know, he showed me how to, what you're looking for when you're racing, how to race, what kind of combinations work best. I mean, it was a lot of stuff that kind of directed me into the next level stuff. So when I came out with my 57, when I bought the 57, it's a funny story how I bought the 57. I was done racing because I couldn't go faster than 430s, It was all I could do, and I couldn't figure out how to run no faster. I was at wit's end. I was burning up everything you put out. I was learning nitrous. Oh my God, dude! I had a 55 drum full of pistons. I was buying pistons every week. I was at Pat Musey's 3 times a month. And then on top of that, I was running Northeast Pro Shooter. I never run quarter mile. So, you know, if you burn something 1/8 of a mile, quarter mile, you destroy it.
Right.
I mean, you disintegrate your shit. So I sold everything I had to have, right? I sold the truck, the trailer, I'm done. I'm out. Well, Mike still has his car. Mike still has his toter and all his stuff, right? So I'm driving Mike's car. Todd calls me up. He said, Jim, I know you got pot full of money. He said, you need to buy this car. I go, why do I need to buy this car? Jim, you need to buy this car. It's one of the things in the equation that you've never had, and that's a good car. I said, well, how old is the car? He said, the car is like new. I said, what color is the car? He goes, the car's green. I go, I ain't never going to own a green car. He goes, look, don't be so close-minded. Anyway, he said, think about it. A month went by. He called me up again. He says, Jim, you need to run your happy ass down to Tennessee and buy this car. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you got to buy this car. If you don't buy this car, I'm going to buy it. I go, well, what kind of car is it? He said, you raced against it. He said, Rick Moore was driving the car in Don Plemons' group. I said, well, I don't remember it. I must not have ran against it. I said, what kind of car is it? He says, it's a 57 Chevrolet. I said, I ain't never going to own a 57 Chevrolet. So it was green. It was 57 Chevrolet. Me, I was looking for a sleek pro stock Camaro or late model car, you know, because I was I had this vision in my mind about the ideal car was a pro stock car.
Right.
Because that's or a real pro mod car, which they're kind of the same car with a few different tweaks. So anyway, I said, I ain't never owned no 57 Chevrolet. He said, Jim, don't be stupid. He says, I'm telling you, he said, Tommy Mooney was building him a new 41 Willis. He said, my car won't be done for another couple months. He said, I'll buy it. Just to buy it, I could sell it and make money. Mm-hmm. So anyway, a couple days went by. I mean, not even a week. He called me back. He said, Jim, you need to go buy that car. This is the last time I'm telling you. So me and Mike Sheldon hopped our happy asses in the truck, and we drove to Tennessee. And I pulled on the lot, and this guy's got a huge place like ours, just really nice, and he does a lot of big truck work, and he's in the same kind of business we are, big truck maintenance and body repair and all that kind of stuff. So I related to him right off the bat, right? So I said, where's the car? Where's the car? I can't even come all this way just to talk. And he says, it's in the back in the race shop. So they had a bay like we got over there. And I walked around the corner, I looked at the car, and I couldn't believe it. The car was absolutely immaculate. It had collectively probably under 100 runs on it from brand new. The car was built in 2001, maybe. I think I got it end of 2001, or it was built in 2000, and I got it 2001. Anyway, I looked at the car and it had a 706 in it, and I had a 706. I'm saying, man, I said, what do you run with the car? He said, we run, mid-20s, low 30s with it. That's where we were at the time. Competitive. So I said, hell, I got to do it. Mike said, you're stupid not to buy it. I said, okay. So when I bought the car, the guy gave me the bell housing. I got the transmission with it. I got the clutch. I got headers. I got a spare set of wheelie bars and a spare hood. But the car was immaculate. It needed zip, nothing, right? So I took the motor that I had in my Firebird that I'd never run any faster than a 432 or 434. It's the best I ever run with on a good day, on air and all the stars lining up. Well, the way the 57 is built, it's a wedge. And Mike Shelton was, my best buddy, but, you know, he's trying to do the best with this thing. And he owned Roxborough Raceway at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wanted to go test, I would literally just go out there and spray the track, prep the track, and just run. I would test Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, wouldn't matter. I would go there. That's where we used to go. As a matter of fact, I used to leave my car, my truck and trailer and everything down at Mike's house in Roxborough because it was a halfway point between all of the North Carolina races and all of the northern races. So when we were going to go to the Big Dog, I'd go to Mike's house on Wednesday night, work on the car. Thursday morning, we drive over to Piedmont. It was only 30 minutes. See what I'm saying? So that was kind of a good deal. But anyway, what I was going to say is I put my motor in it. Everything else came with the car. Mike lined me up on the starting line on a 0 prep track.
No
I
prep.
mean, we didn't even blow it off. This was, I mean, we picked the car up on a Monday. I put the motor in Tuesday and Wednesday. We were out there beating the hell out of it. So the car being a wedge, as he lined me up, which he thought, he's standing at the front of the car, and he's lining me up. So he's lining me up by the side of the car, right?
Right.
All right, so if you're lined up the side of the car and the car's a wedge, the car's like this, right? The first time I drove the car, I had no idea. It didn't even come to mind. So I dropped the hammer on it. I started it, just picked the wheels up, and I just stayed in it. It started to drive to the center line. I let off the gas, halfway throttle, straightened the car out, pulled second gear, pulled third gear, pulled fourth gear, and clicked it off at 450, 500 feet, and went a 430 flat.
Mm. And you was tickled to death, wasn't you?
I said, I got something now. So then I had to call Todd and tell him, hey, thank you for, giving me the insight on this. I never realized what the difference is between a quality car and a car that looks like it is but ain't.
I've been there before too.
There is a huge difference in the way a car is built and the particulars on the dynamics of the way the car is built.
Yeah, because they personally built.
So, right, if you got a purpose-built car,
right.
And I'm not saying it has to be a Bickle car or a Jones car and all that. That's a plus, but there's a lot of good builders out there. Tommy Mooner, Tim, Tim McCamus. They're all great, okay? Right. But there's a lot of guys that you don't hardly hear about, like Garrett, and before Larry Jeffers was a superstar. Right. I mean, he was building cars long after that. You know what I mean? Up
and coming, Tommy Payne.
Right. There's a lot of guys out there that know how to build a car. Red Hat Mafia, Jamie Miller. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal guy, knows a lot. He learned from the best.
Right.
So you put him in the equation, and that guy can, if you use him as a tuner, you have the best of the best at your disposal. How that works out, vary on a bunch of different things, but he knows chassis, he knows shocks, he knows motor, he knows the tune-up, he knows what to look for in a tune-up. Car's not going down track. He can put you on point. Mm-hmm. I'm the one guy I miss out of the whole equation that did all of that for me, that helped me, was Joe Lapone. Joe Lapone drove my car and helped me tune my car. I can't tell you how many races we've gone to that we'd qualify in the middle of the pack, and he'd say, we got this race. I go, what do you mean we got this race? He said, we got this race. I said, what do you see that I don't see?
Right.
He said, just shut up and watch, okay? And he would always race the track. He would race the conditions of the track and the people he was racing. He'd factor that in. And he'd say, okay, Jim, so-and-so, he's going to play a little game on the starting line. He said, you let him go in first, or you drag him out, or, you go in first. Or
right.
He would always give me some little hint. So, I really miss Joe. Right. He was instrumental in me learning a lot about what I learned and making the transition to like the pro class.
So,
Okay.
so where you see from back then, the story you gave us, as opposed to where you see, because y'all run with Big Time Mania now, and where you see it going from back then to now.
It's a total different deal. It's not that particular class doesn't have its little nuances about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that after Big Dog and after running professional, what I call professional guys,
Right.
I had to run Ricky Smith, Todd Tutterow, Brinsfield. I ran all the best of the best guys. I run,
Right.
all of them. So I kind of got some insight on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you run the grudge thing and this series that we have now, that's why I mentioned to you about how many professionals do you think you got?
And that was,
Right.
that was a tricky question right there, because I had to think, because I was like, wait a minute. So I classify us no-time racers as professional of no time, but I know what you meant by when you said professional, meaning like all the above, the things that y'all did to make the sport what it is today. You know what I mean? It takes
Right.
a crotch.
So I kind of pick my odds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I pick and choose what I think I can do the best at. Everybody does it, right?
Right.
You're not going to go to a track that you're just totally overwhelmed.
Right.
I'm not going to put my car in pro nitrous and think I can
Right.
hang with Tommy Franklin.
Right.
All right, that's just not happening. So I did the same thing in a lot of the series I ran with. Now,
Right.
the whole Don Plemons thing in the Northeast Pro Shootout, that was a learning curve. I did that because you can't learn from a guy that's going slower than you.
Oh my God! Tell me about it.
You wanna learn from a guy that's getting it done.
Right.
All right, so you want to learn what's the best of the best, what's the best combination, and they'll share.
Some of
They'll
it with
share this information
you.
with
Share
you.
a little bit with me.
I do.
Yeah.
But you would never get that. You would never get that information if you hang out with the guys on the corner. They're not gonna do nothing.
They don't know.
All right. So the advantage of the no time deal is there's only a handful of guys that are privy to that information.
Right.
Okay. I always relate it to the period of time when I got the 57. So around here in the local guys,
Mm-hmm.
I was always top tier.
Right. Yeah. That's
Okay.
what brought me to y'all. When I seen the
Always.
car. Yeah.
And my shit wasn't nowhere near like what it should be.
Right.
Okay, so this is what happened. When I busted on the scene with my 57, that car was so far advanced over all the rest. There was only one or two cars, three cars or so guys that would even hang with me.
Right.
And the ones that were like Dwayne Solance, had Charlie Buck in his back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Had their buys top-notch shit all the time.
Right.
But the majority of the guys were like this, like the no time deal.
Right.
Most of those guys are weekend warriors.
Right.
But I was top of my game. Dude, I was the oh shit guy.
Right.
When I showed up at Colonial Beach at King of the Beach,
Yeah.
what did they say?
Well,
Oh shit.
I said to myself when I seen that big old Batman sign up there, and I was like, I was acting like Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
I was like, and that's what got me, into the racing when I started seeing guys like y'all, and y'all were what we call guys that you can walk up to and talk to. You just had to have that courage to walk up to them. Most people wouldn't walk up to y'all and talk to y'all because they think y'all standoffish.
Right.
And I tried to tell them, I said, nah, they're not like that. Man, I said, but until you go over there and experience and ask a question, and if they feel a good vibe like you feel with me, you'll tell me what it is I want to know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've helped countless people out over the years.
Right.
I've had to help guys with their cars or, their tune-ups and stuff like that. I mean, I've kept a lot of guys out of trouble. And I've let a lot of guys, I've given them a lot of information and they go do different shit. That's another whole story.
Right.
But I'm not going to tell you something that I didn't experience with that's not a plus. This is the avenue that I would probably approach for it.
Right. You
So-
know, especially like, well, not to cut you off, especially like you said, that when guys like myself and others come to you, we can't tell you, oh, nah, Jim, that don't work. You've been faster than what we've been. You know what I mean? So you
Right, you always
experience
want to
it.
right.
Yeah,
You always want to go somebody that's in faster because they can get you, they can fill in the blanks.
Right. When I got into racing, one of my buddies that got me into racing, his name is Sonny Gray. He said, Styles, don't go build the car. Buy somebody else's car that already did the work and they ready to get out of it. You're ahead of the game. You know, it's like an open book test.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Instead of trying to do the test without the book, somebody giving you the book. And that's how I was able to learn quickly.
And you got those kind of guys. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I've been in situations where I had a guy that I know has got the funds to do what he wants to do.
Mm.
And he'll come to me and say, yeah, I'm gonna buy, I want a small tire car.
Right.
Okay, I said, okay, well, exactly what you said. We'll go to racetrack, we'll find somebody that's got one that's running fast, and we'll make them a deal.
Right.
Get out, I'm getting in.
Right.
Or go to a reputable place that's building the cars that you know the guys do good shit. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Yeah.
CJs or Tin Soldiers or whatever. These guys know what the hell to do with these small tires. Reese Brothers.
Mm.
These guys know what to do with a small car. And there's some real trick shit that has to be done to these cars to deal with them track conditions.
Right.
And I've seen them over and over again. Well, I bought this car because it was cheap. Okay, well, cheap, not fast.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
then they spend $50,000 in that, can't make it do. They sell it off, and then they'll do the same thing, reverse the same cycle. Next thing you know, they bought another car. I said, look, this is the second time around. You know, we didn't learn no lessons the last time, right? I said, you're going to have $100,000 in this car, and I don't think you're going to get the success you want. Fast forward 2 years later, he's got about $135,000 in it, and he can't make it down. He can't go to a track and make it a successful weekend. Has never won a race with it, and has made some stupid bets. So I do everything I can. I try to share my pitfalls with other people that have had problems and try to keep them avoided. But, you know, a lot of guys, you got guys in the grudge game that they'll look at a car and they're queer for that car. They got to have it. They'll buy it whether it's the biggest piece of shit in the world.
Right.
I mean, I've seen cars show up at our tracks that I know won't pass tech.
Right.
Never mind have safety equipment or the right stuff in the car to get from point A to point B. And you don't got to worry about them.
Right.
You know, those guys are out of the equation.
I got a question for you, one of my hot seat questions. Who out of you, Brian and Jamie, in your prime, who was the better driver?
I could tell you this, that I stopped driving in 2010 when I had my brain surgery.
Mm-hmm.
My average light that year, because we documented it, was the 007. My average light.
I heard you the first time.
Okay. All right. Brian, a couple years we were keeping track of, his average light was a 003. His average light.
Well, I ain't asked about.
I know that, but
I'm
people
talking
think,
about far as driving.
people
That's
think-
part of the equation right there.
people think I lose my mind when I tell them that. Oh, there's no way I'm telling you.
Mm.
It's just like you take a guy like Travis Harvey. I'll bet you he's got so much seat time. I'll bet you
most
his
definitely.
average is a 002.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so a lot of times you manage to get to the top of the food chain because you do a lot of it. So
Right.
there's no substitute for practice.
No.
Right?
Correct. Correct.
So years ago, I learned this from Jeg Coughlin. Jeggy ran with us at the $50,000 race, okay? And we were just talking, right? And he said, my brother, I said, seems like your brother always wins. He was running pro stock then. He was just, every race he won was a tree job.
Right.
He said, my brother races something every day. I know he was exaggerating, but I mean, I got the point.
Right.
Every chance he gets, he races somebody somewhere, or he's in the seat. Same thing with Travis. Travis gets in Justin's car. He gets in Vaughn's car. He's back and forth. He's driving everybody's car, and he's as fluid as you could get. Yeah. He's on top of his game, and that's what I strive to do. Because I knew if I went to racetracks and I didn't have the power that Ricky Smith had, I better be out driving his ass.
Right.
Ricky's got a reputation for being good on the tree, right?
Right.
They call him Tricky Ricky for a reason. He's not necessarily good on the tree, but he knows what to do with it.
Oh, so that's one of the reasons why they call him Tricky Ricky?
Because he's always played games on the tree. But anyway, with that said, I managed to win a lot of races, even running with the baddest of the baddest, because of my driving ability. I honestly think that, I can't prove this, but I honestly think that there's some things that happen along the line, some benefits of certain things that I never got because Brian was so much of a better driver than their driver that they wouldn't give me their A game. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's happened. Right. People know. You know, that word gets around.
Right.
Okay? But I don't know. I don't know what I don't know.
Have you raced against Hustler Henry Butler?
Yeah, I run Henry. Yeah. Years ago when what's his name had the track?
Clark.
Richie Clark.
Okay.
We ran. They used to split it down to do, you know, it was pro stock cars, which is no motor, and then they had nitrous cars, right? But a lot of times they'd have them little quick 8 races, and we'd run against each other, or we'd run in testing, and you know.
So how old are you, Jim?
I'm 74.
Oh, that's all? Oh, because Henry, I talked to Henry. Henry's 85.
Henry's older than me.
Yeah, he'd be 86 this year.
Yeah.
And when I talk to you and I see you,
he's a walking miracle.
Oh my God! I talked to him last week.
My man Henry.
Yeah, I talked to him last week, and I did one of these sit downs with him, and it's just the knowledge, not even just knowledge, it's the time that he was around, you know. And then I talked to you.
And I guarantee he dealt with all those New York boys and all that kind of shit.
Yes.
You know, he was a troopy, clean guy. And I know. Him and I have talked a lot too.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. And when
he was the godfather when I started coming around there.
Okay. That's pretty much what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Was you like?
He had. Now think about it. When I first started coming around, he had some top-notch shit. I mean, it wasn't like it's old shit now.
Right.
You know what I mean? But he had some stuff. He was in pretty good shape.
You know what he told me?
He would hold his own for sure.
Yeah. He told me, he said, Wickenburg, he said these guys, he called it drugs that they use the nitrous. He said, if I had the money, I can show them on all motor that I can go faster than these guys with these drugs.
Yeah, but
you know,
that'll never happen.
I know it'll never happen. But it was mainly the guys that's going 3 seconds, and he was saying that he can put an all motor together to go 3 seconds if he had the money.
How about this? William Brown, my buddy William. We raced together in the '80s when he had his Camaro at Suffolk. We run, and the big deal back then was finding somebody that had a pro stock motor that we could get.
Right.
Right? He was connected. He knew some people that had pro stock motors, and he had to have him, Jesse Grant, all of them. They had to have the best of the best pro stock motor.
Right.
Jimmy T had some old junkyard shit. Right?
Who's Jimmy T?
That's me. So, fast forward, right? William, you need to run nitrous, you know, run Top Sportsman. I said, this cars are starting to go faster and faster and faster. You need to run nitrous. Oh, no, I ain't going to run nitrous. So, lo and behold, we made a deal. He got his first nitrous motor, took it to Billy Albert. They did it. He's getting busy. He's getting done. He's getting it done. Now he's hooked. No more pro stock motors.
Hey, my buddy told me.
Then Jesse and them, it took them a while. They're still kind of.
I know.
They're still not quite there yet, but at least they got nitrous motors now. But
Right.
and then William returned to favor early in I don't know 99, 2003, something like that. I was a 4-speed guy. I had to have a clutch.
Right.
Okay, this converter shit wasn't making it with me. I ran a clutch all the way up until, I don't know, late in the 2000s. Okay, William goes to me. He goes, Jim. He said, you need to put a power glide in your car. He said, you're struggling with these tracks. He said, I said, I don't care. And I'm coming out and I'm looking like a coal miner.
Right.
I'm dragging the clutch through trying to get down these goofy tracks and whatnot. Anyway, I'm working my ass off. Don't get me wrong, I'm getting it done, but I'm telling you, my whole body looks like this when I'm done at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
He comes to me, Jim, my buddy. I said, power glides don't hold up, converters don't hold, none of that shit holds up. I said, because they were all there's only a few guys building power glides that were staying together at the time. And Rogers was the only one that was really...
Cool. Wayne Rogers?
Wayne was the only one around that we knew that was getting them to stay together more than one race.
Wow, more than one race?
Oh, yeah. I tried a power glide in my car. I get 3 runs done, toast. And I had everybody building them that you could think of. I'm telling you, anybody built, I don't care who it was. I don't want to go down the list, but it was a long list of people.
Right.
And there was all kinds of little issues. And then in its infancy, there was all like the shaft size and like they didn't have the 300M type shafts back then. They only had that upgraded, whatever it was. Now they got the big shafts and all of this. There's all kinds of shit that they've come a long way with. But Wayne was the only one that was having any success with the top sportsman guys. Okay. Mm-hmm. William said, I'll buy the transmission. You put it in your car. If you don't like it, I'll buy it back. Wayne built me that first transmission from scratch, and I put it in the car, and it lasted 2 years. I don't want to tell you what happened after that.
Right.
Okay, because I don't want to really go into it. There was some other issues that went on after that, why I changed billers and all that kind of stuff. But up to that point, we were winning a lot of races because instead of having to worry about shifting the car, instead of having to worry about setting the clutch up, making sure the chassis was right for all that shit, and messing with that stuff every racetrack you go to, I put the power glide in, forget all that. I couldn't believe I bring the car back and cool the car, and nothing to do.
That's what I was getting ready to say. You wanted something to do. And
nothing to do.
Yeah.
I go, oh, well, then I guess I'll mess with the computer. I guess I'll go lean on the nitrous some more.
So how soon did you start having to work on a computer? Like,
I was the first one in this area to have a fuel-injected motor.
and like how long ago was
I
that?
bought that was in early 2000s somewhere.
I keep forgetting, when you say early 2000, I keep forgetting we're in 2025, so early 2000 was over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And,
So what happened was Pat Musey and Mark D'Antoni and them, they were big, him and Christensen, they were all big in the pro street, outlaw street shit.
Right,
they were
yeah.
champions in their game.
right, yeah, I remember that.
And they were running I don't know if they were cheating 706s or what the deal was, but they were running 665, 706 combinations, however that worked out.
Right.
Okay, so I went to Pat, and I told Pat I wanted to build an 800 cubic inch nitrous motor. He goes, "You have lost your mind. You are off the reservation." I said, "Okay, how about this? How about we'll start out with something smaller?" I think we ended up, the first combination I think was a 706 motor. He built it for me, and he sold me the EFI systems. So I didn't know shit from Shaol about tuning I know what to do with a carburetor. You can give me a carburetor, I'll get you there.
Right.
But the fuel injection had different stuff that you had to learn all the things about the program to be able to manipulate the program to make it do what you want to do. If motor's too fat, too lean, had to know what buttons to push to get it to lean that cylinder out or fatten that cylinder up or whatever without going in mechanical shit.
Right.
That was the advantage of fuel injection.
Right.
Okay, that year I went through about 30 boxes of pistons. I'm telling you right now, the only person that helped me was Scotty G.
Back then?
Yes. I'm telling you right now, Scotty was the only one that took the time with me to help me kind of figure it out. So he helped me we put the motor on the dyno and we beat the shit out of it, and then we get the base tune-up, right?
Right.
And then he would help me navigate around. Back then, they only had you could only put 3 systems on. Now you can put 10 systems on if you want, right? Okay, so, and I didn't understand all of the things that I needed to know about nitrous, obviously, because I was hurting motors all the time. But I couldn't get that information.
Right.
Right? So if I couldn't get a hold of Scotty, you damn sure couldn't get a hold of Graham.
Right.
You got zero help from EFI Systems. If you couldn't get it from Pat's end of bargain, his deal, which is Scotty, it's hard to get help. And I didn't know Joe Lapone at the time. Okay? Now, Joe's the guru on that. He can make that computer talk. You want to do traction control on it, he can do it. You want to do, you want a feather etch cylinder out, you want to pull one out, you got one, a hole that's weak, he knows he'd go in and it's done, right? He'll keep you from hurting shit.
Right.
Right? That's the big thing with nitrous motor. If you can you don't learn anything if you don't make rounds, right?
Right.
So if you go out there with the best shit of the best shit, and you make first pass on it, knock the pistons out of it, you're going nowhere. Okay, so I struggled with that for a long time. And I ended up building that motor. I ended up building a 810 cubic inch motor. And I had 4 systems of nitrous on it. And it was fuel injected. And I could not put it together. It seemed like every which way I went with it, I was hurting that motor. And there was some other things going on with the motors at the time, like soften up the cylinders, put the piston 125 down in the hole so that you get flame travel and you're not, you don't have, it knocks the cylinder pressure out of it so you can put more nitrous in it, right?
Right.
There's a bunch of little internal stuff. Now think about this, when I was having those problems with that motor,
Right.
Charlie Buck didn't even know about that. Charlie Buck didn't even know about putting a piston in the hole. One time he got a set of rods, had the wrong pistons, and the guy had to go racing, and he put them rods in there that the piston was 100 in the hole.
Right.
The guy didn't knock no pistons out of the hole. Then from then on, that was this SOP.
What's SOP?
Standard operating procedure. You run a nitrous motor in it, that's what you got.
Right.
And there was a lot of other things that were involved in that learning curve.
Right.
Oh my God, there's different types of cylinder heads, and like a 14-degree head versus 16-degree head, and
Right.
and who all was building it. We all good.
Yeah.
So there was a bunch of other stuff that factored into my learning curve along the way, because
Right.
I could only acquire so much, and then I went on. So after chasing that combination for a while and not having much success on it, I mean for like a year, I was in this motor every week. Every time we raced it, I had the heads off it. Finally, I got frustrated and I took the fuel injection off and put carburetors on it. 2 years later, I had the same motor in the car. I said, damn, I'm all right. Okay, fast forward. Everybody's going to big motors, right? I had 2 Fulton motors, one for each car. Both of them, Gene was working on all of them. He was taking care of every bit of them. I'm telling you, those motors would run and run and run and run and run. and not eat themselves up unless something stupid happened, like a clogged nitrous jet or timing something goofy going on. Their motors would last and last and last. I had months on end when I'd pull the valve covers off and never had to adjust the lifters. That's how reliable they were. That's when I really started winning a lot of races. I won 11 out of 14 races one year. I'm telling you, I couldn't do no wrong. And it was just me and Luke.
Do you miss
Just me
those?
and Luke. I didn't have no help.
Right.
I did. I'm telling you, I drove the car. And Luke did the nitrous bottles and the tires and packed the parachutes. That's all.
So do you miss that? Is that one of the reasons why you're still in it? You think those days, well, not think, you miss those days of when you was winning 11 out of 14 and
Well, you
and
always
the learning.
Well, the learning curve has got to a level right now where we're pretty stable with that. We could go out there and I know enough to be dangerous. I could
Right.
get through a weekend without just totally destroying a motor.
Right.
But I still need help all the time. I still take advantage of tuners that are interested in helping me
Right.
because you always learn shit.
Yes.
Okay? So when I was trying to navigate it, when we changed over to Fuel Tech, I was trying to navigate around the program. My boy Dane, he's the guru, right? He's learning too, but he's learning at a way faster rate than me.
Right, yeah.
He's younger than me. He's got,
Yeah,
he can remember shit. Me, I'm old fart. I can't remember shit.
You keep going back to some of the old. Well, no,
Yeah,
this should work.
what did you say? How did I do it? Hold on. Let me write that down. Hold on. Anyway, that's a good thing, and that's what we got going on. That's a dynamic we got going on now. Dane helps us with that, and when he goes to PDRA, I try to go with him too because I share some information with him that he could capitalize on too. You know,
I go to, and I hang out with y'all and Dane Woods and them, and I learn. I watch, I learn, and I see what y'all do. And like one time y'all ran in the big tie shootout at PDRA at the Creek. And when I watch, because the guys in the no-time field, they need so much time to work on their cars and all this stuff. And I watch the pros, and I watch y'all. And I time y'all. I don't know what made me time y'all. I said, you know what? They gotta change this piston before next round. And y'all did it in 51 seconds. I timed it, and I was like, well, I mean, y'all had all hands on deck, but it got done. You know what I mean? And then y'all fired right up. And here's the thing. Y'all didn't have to go make no shakedown. Guys be saying, oh, I need to make a shakedown because I made some changes. Y'all changed pistons, and when y'all took them out, you said, well, we really didn't need to change, but change it anyway. Y'all clip rings, rim clipping rings and stuff. And I'm like, where this thing come from? I got to make a shakedown because I made a change. I said, every pass, every time you come out, you make a change, whether it's tire pressure, adjusting the valves is a change,
have you ever heard the expression mothership?
No.
Okay. When I was racing a lot, these different tracks, I'd go to US 13 or I'd go to MIR or I'd go to Morrisville or whatever. My trailer was the mothership. Okay? Back then, they didn't have all the rigs like they got now, so my little bullshit shadow trailer was top of the line. Wasn't bad. It was in the better half of the field.
Right.
But I had everything in that trailer you need. So if I was running Fulton motors and I was a 4700 bore, 4750 bore, whatever it was, I had pistons in the trailer with rings cut, wrist pins, rods, oil pan gaskets, oil, everything I need to fix that motor.
Right.
I'd have spare ignition stuff. I'd have a crank trigger, ignition boxes. I would have everything to rebuild that track at the track than I did as if it was at the shop.
Right.
So when you show up at the track and you got a half dozen guys out there show up in their race trailer, they ain't even got a battery charger in it.
Man, I have buddies come over. Hey, Styles, you got some extra nitrous? Extra nitrous? You know what I mean? And it's hard for me to throw stuff away, so I can relate to you saying, when you go out of town to race,
Okay, so here's the end result. You got to have a good crew, right? You got to have the same guys doing the same thing over and over. That's the success of your program.
Right.
But having that reinforcement of having those parts in there that you need that or you might break.
Right.
I could tell you this. We went to Outer Banks one time, and we had a grudge race with,
Cool.
I want to say it was Stevie Fast.
Uh-huh.
I want to say it was Stevie Fast. We were supposed to run this big shootout thing, right? We had a power glass. No, we had a Bruno Lanco in the car, and we had some issues with it. Kept leaking fluid, right? And I couldn't stop it. We've already made 2 test passes. We got 1 more shakedown. We yanked the transmission out. I had the drive shaft, the shifter, the transmission, the converter, everything, all the bolts bagged up in there, and put it back in and made the next qualifying session. And won first round and beat Stevie Fast. Okay, so a lot of that, you take that with you as you go.
Right.
Right. There's a lot of guys that are not successful in their program. If they have, they don't have a spark plug, they gotta go home.
I know.
That's crazy. But that's the norm with grudge racers.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, that's why I don't understand.
Your superstar. What's his name? The guy that from Carolina that
Tony Bonds.
Tony Bonds. My boy Tony Bonds. I swear to God, I love him. He's a good guy. He showed up at Hereford. We're supposed to have some kind of combo grudge race. Some shit was going on.
Right.
He showed up at the racetrack. And I said, Tony, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing great, doing great. I got this. He had the car jacked up. No jack stand. He had a car jacked up, right? I'm thinking, oh my God, if that jack falls off, he's going to crush his ass. He's got a bag, a tool bag.
Right.
And all his tools are stuffed in the bag. And he's fumbling through this tool bag, trying to find his tools to get the car fixed. I look in, there's nothing else in the trailer. I said, how the hell do you come to a race with nothing in the trailer to work on the car?
It was working when he left home.
Oh, yeah, he got it going.
Yeah, yeah.
But he ended up paying a punk out money because, he didn't have no spare shit in the trailer.
Yeah,
He's a good guy. He's a dedicated, he is a real, I call him OG. He's a real.
Most definitely, without a doubt.
There's a few guys out there that are real serious grudge racers. He's one of them.
Yeah,
He don't mind racing. He don't care who he races.
Right, yeah.
That's a good thing, like you.
Yeah.
You're just that way too.
Right.
It ain't a matter of who you're racing. It's well, how can I manipulate this game though? I can win today.
Right, and that's what I try.
I want to make the bet. I want to turn chicken shit into chicken salad today.
Right. I mean, because it's a sport, we like it. And like I watched Tony Bonds, it's like, now he's in Chicago. Not in Chicago. He's racing all the Chicago guys, Danye and all those.
Yeah.
He locked in, I think, 5 races, tonight and tomorrow. And Alabama, he coming all the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he's starting off the trail.
We went to Darlington, he had like 6 races.
Yeah.
I said, how the hell are you going to make 6 races?
I'm like, I'm trying to get 1 out the way. Here you is, done locked in 5. Well, Punk out for all 5 races.
That's what I was doing the math in my head. Let me see, $500 Punk out here.
Yeah.
What happens if you break? Oh, shit.
You just
no, that's too much stress for me.
Right.
I can't handle
one
that.
at a time. I take one at a time. Hey, Jim, it's nice talking to older guys that's been in the game for a long time. And we can learn a lot from you. A lot of guys won't approach you and don't approach older guys that's been in the game and is still around, but yet they wonder why they are where they are today. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't learn from guys like you and the Scotty G's, the Tommy Paynes, the Dane Woods, LJ Wood. LJ Wood called me. He'll bless me out if I did something wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, because they be like,
he don't hide
upset.
nothing.
Yeah, they be upset. Won't you do it this way? Let me show you something. And it's just amazing the information that y'all give, that y'all give out to me. You know what I mean? Like when I wrecked the car, and I was done, and Tom was out of banks, and Tom was like, look at this ticket. It's amazing what a number you see make you say, oh, nah, I ain't going to quit now. I'm going in the right direction.
Well, it's the people that don't really drive a car have no concept about the rush.
Right. Oh, yes.
It's a serious crack habit.
Yeah.
And if you manage to do really good with it, the more you do good, the worse it gets.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
I'm glad you said it, because when I try to explain it, I can't really get it out, but hearing you say it, it's like he's saying just what I'm saying, but it sounds better what he's saying because, you know, it's like I can always give help, but do people give me that help? You know, I don't have the right people at all times to talk to hear my problems. You know, my problem is, you know, people say, Styles, you've been doing this a long time. And I was like, I've been doing this straight for over 25 years. You know what I mean? Like not missing a year. That's dope. You know what I mean?
And you know, a lot of guys fall into this, pigeonhole this. When I first started racing, I wanted to get my wife involved in it.
Right.
Because, you know, happy wife, happy life, right?
Right.
So I bought my wife a '69 Camaro, and I had a Nova. And all of my parts, all the good shit went in my car.
Right.
And all the leftover stuff, my old plugs, my old tires, my old oil, everything went into her car.
Right.
And she drove it on the street. Okay? The last year we raced together, and I dragged with 2 trailers. You know, I dragged her behind the wrecker and me behind the other. We hit the racetrack, right?
Right.
She won like $17,000 that year, bracket racing. Phenomenal on the tree.
Right.
Right? And I spent $30,000, and I didn't get nowhere. All I was concerned about was going fast. Who could go the fastest?
Right.
How fast did you run, William? Oh, you know, I went 990s. Oh, I went 940s.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And between Jesse and William and all them, that's what the deal was.
Well,
It wasn't about winning race. Well, Claire Flock and Melinda Green and all them kind of people, now they were concerned about winning races. They were on point.
right.
I was too stupid to realize it.
So if you wasn't racing, what would you be doing?
If I wasn't racing, I don't know.
I ask myself that question, and people tell me.
If I had to guess, I'd say I'd probably be into, you know, the stuff I do now in Florida, radio control stuff, or, you know, I would be doing something that has wheels.
Yeah, I don't know what I would be doing. Grudge racing to me, whether I'm racing or as a fan or promoting, is like a way of life. You know, I wake up every day. It's not a day to go by that I don't have something racing on my mind.
Here's what dictates that.
What's that?
The success and failure program is how deep your pockets are.
Say that again?
The success and failure of your program,
Uh-huh.
or your success in that venue, is how much money you got to spend.
Right.
It ain't like it used to be.
Right.
We used to go buy a 454 crate motor, drop the valve springs off, put rocker arms on it, and go back and run, and it was keeping up with the Joneses. Now, you spend 40 grand for a set of bare heads.
Yeah. That's
so there's a cap there. So you gotta, you know, you can't just jump out there and say, hey, I'm gonna grudge race this group of guys, and what kind of equipment they got.
Right.
You know, Carter got that $125,000 motor in his car. Illuminati got that, you know, another $150,000 motor, $150,000 car.
Right.
You know, am I picking my battles here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can only go so far.
Right.
And that's that kind of what's happened is, for me, I'm not in that area where I got plenty of liquid money to do what I wanted to do, and the cost of doing business has quadrupled.
Yes.
So when I could race a car all year long and win enough money back to support my program and not cost me anything, those days are gone.
Well, we don't. The racing is doing now, it's not that way. You don't win money. When you do win, you ain't winning enough to go back racing. It ain't supporting your program. It's just helping. It's like a tip, because like you said, the cost of what it costs now, and it's double to quadruple what it costs now, you know, and it's with the economy, everything goes up, you know what I mean? But when you look at racing, what it costs, and I watch these guys in the pros, you know, the stuff that they carry 2 and 3 spare motors, and I know these motors over $100,000, and you can burn it up just like that, you know.
And the other thing that's happened too is the guys like us that really can't afford to put that kind of energy into it,
Right.
they get overwhelmed by the Tommy Franklins of the world and the Jim Halseys of the world that just, they have no budget.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's way easy. Yeah, it's way easy for them to pay to play.
Right.
For us, you know, if we go out there and knock a motor, blow it, you know, scatter the rods out in the block, well, guess what? We're done for the season.
Yeah, okay. Now, where do you think PDRA Pro Nitrous is going to be at this year?
It's going to be interesting. Now that you got Amber Franklin in there and you got a few other guys that are showing up, some of the guys are filling the void.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of those guys. Now, last year what happened was a bunch of those guys went to Pro Boost. Why? You know why they went?
What, easy on the motors? I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Okay. In nitrous, you got 10 nitrous cars in that, or 16 cars in the nitrous field.
Right.
If you ain't got a 2-car team or 3-car team, you don't get squat. You don't learn nothing. You don't find out what the best shit is. You don't know how to make the motor live. You don't know how to go fast. You try because you see what everybody else is doing and you get little tidbits.
Right.
But you don't get that information. In Pro Boost, if you have a Pro Line motor,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a twin turbo, if you have a blower, I guarantee you that all the guys that run that shit, they all have a basic tune-up.
Oh, and
they all get that information from Proline.
I understand now. And that's some of the things when talking to older guys like yourself that have been in the game a while, that y'all speak from knowledge. I didn't think that because I was trying to figure out why people are teaming up. And I'm like, what's the benefit of it? And now you made it make more sense to me.
That's why I was trying. Our original goal was to run my car and LJ's car together as a 2-car team, but because we're growing the business and we're not able to take off like we want to,
right,
we can't do it. But double the information back to back. You're running the same car down the same track and the same motor, same transmission, same combination.
right.
You know you turn that screw, which is going to make it go faster. What didn't work?
Right. Yeah. Now when you
see,
team up,
that's the thing. You get guys like Tommy Franklin's got 2 cars running exactly the same. Did you see they ran like within a 100th of each other?
Right. Yeah, I seen that.
That's why, because they have that.
You watch the Deckers, same thing.
Well, the Deckers and the screw blower thing is a little different. Todd Tutterow, WYO, is running that program. They're running all of that stuff, Justin Smith stuff, all of it, all that. They got, I think, 30 or so customers that they work on. Brad was telling me that they ordered a bunch of cranks, like 20 cranks or something. They got 30 motors to build. Said they didn't even have enough. You know, they had to struggle to get parts, but. When you got 30 customers, you know they're all getting the information.
All right, where you want to see racing go from here, as far as the type of racing you're doing?
For me, I'm done. I'm toast.
Well, you and with your son, they still running. You still get on the keyboards. You still have say-so.
All I can do at this point is hope we do well and don't tear up a bunch of shit and keep the shiny side up for the rest of the season.
Right.
But and try to navigate around what's best for our program so we can have a better chance of winning. Or nobody wants to go to race if they don't think they can win.
True that.
But we try to pick out venues that we have a more than 50% chance of winning. So at least we're not, you know, if we go home and we make good laps, we're usually going to win. We're going to do good.
Why you start on that win? You said we winning.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's all we can do.
Right.
But, you know, if I had a sponsor.
You need a sponsor? Well, we all, in the racing game, we all need sponsors.
No.
I know what you're saying.
We're talking, in order to run a Ricky Smith told me, I was talking to Ricky one time and he was telling me that, or maybe it wasn't Ricky, it was somebody else that knew Ricky or something. And they were saying that Ricky got some kind of sponsor. It was WGO or YOG or not YOG, but it was something, IDG or something. Whatever it was when he was running 2 or 3 years ago. They were saying that he got $50,000 a race from them.
Woo.
Now they got NHR, between NHRA and a race, I think it was 21 races a year.
Right.
Do the math on that. In 2 races, he could buy a motor. Back then.
Right.
In 2 races after, he could buy a new car. Back then. And he had a deal with Bickle. You know, he only kept a car 1 year or 2 years.
I know, yeah, because
When he picked up the car at Bickles, the car that he was driving goes back to Bickles and gets sold, and they make some kind of deal, and Ricky gets a new car. And he had a standing order every year. It's not there no more because, you know, Bickles passed.
Yeah.
But that was Ricky always showed up with new cars every year.
And I was
said, man, God damn it. How am I going to compete with this?
I was trying to figure out how so many people out here, oh, I got Ricky's old car. And I'm like, he had that many cars out here that everybody got one, you know what I mean?
There's only one group of people that has more cars than Ricky.
Who's that?
Al-Anabi and that Arabian drag racing league.
Right.
Them guys that buy 10 cars a year.
Right, yeah.
And you got one of them cars? Like if you got an X, think about this. Everybody's fighting for weight. You get a car from Ricky, Ricky's got every bit of titanium you could possibly can. Why? Because he's getting a little fat belly.
Right.
Okay? So everything. I mean, he has titanium rockers on the motor. I'm telling you, everything Ricky does is about the weight. That's a fact.
Right.
Now, Al-Anabi cars, the Mike Castellano car that they ran in, I don't know, the end of PDRA or the end of ADRL, they had like 4 cars at the same time. Javier had one, Iceman had one, Castellano. It was 4 of them, right?
Right.
Those cars, to show you the difference in where the level went from where we are to where they are, they used paint on that car that was ultra light. The paint was like, I don't know, $10,000 a gallon or some stupid shit. It was some special shit that when you put it on the car, it didn't weigh nothing. When I forget who it was that bought their car, but one of them bought their car, right? And they put a 5.3 motor in it.
What's his name? You probably talk about what's the old man down there? Dobbs.
Well, Dobbs is one of them.
Right.
But there was another one. I swear to God, I'm sitting at the scales at Darlington. They rolled that bitch across the scales. That thing was 2,200 pounds with a fat-ass driver sitting in it.
You know, that's I like.
You get a big motor car with a Lenko in it,
right,
to weigh 2,200 pounds.
Yeah.
No, dude. I'm telling you right now, weight in a car is huge. You take 10 builders, right?
Right.
And you go to that one build, you go to Bickle and say, I want this car to be ultra light. First thing he does, he bangs you with a titanium list. Nuts, bolts, fasteners, tin. We're going to do this and this and this. In early 2000, Nicky Montana built a 68 Camaro with a titanium front and a titanium back. Ultra light car. Oh my God, dude, that thing was so far ahead of his game. You know, that's another guy. Montana Brothers.
Right, up in New York or Jersey.
Them guys, they're up north.
Right.
Them guys, there's some anal bitches when it comes to building a car. They do some top-notch quality fucking work.
You know us car like that, and I learned about that years ago up in Cecil County. Andy Jensen. Andy Jensen told me he shortened the wire to go the different shortest route. I mean, he was like a Jenny Craig. He said everything on here is tied to every nut, bolt, washer.
I run against those guys, and I'm telling you right now, I had the same motor they had, and the guys that runs, and they were. James Montana was fat compared to me. I would think I was 140 soaking wet back then, and they'd run circles around me. Hell, 300 feet, I looked like I was going backwards. Them guys, I've been knowing them guys a long time. They're phenomenal.
So Jim, how did y'all come to getting into this?
Okay, in 2010, I had Autocraft.
Okay.
That's 10,000 square foot building down a military highway that I made into an industrial complex.
Okay.
I built a paint booth in it. We had 2 paint booths. I had a frame machine in it. I had a bunch of technicians. I had my ducks in a row. So if you brought a fabrication job in there, a race car job, a paint job, a sandblasting job, anything, commercial, which ambulances, fire trucks, rental trucks, that was my business.
Okay.
Okay, big fleets, that was
Okay.
my business. I had a booming business.
Okay.
When I found out I had a tumor and they didn't know how that operation was going to go out, right? I had to make a call. I said, I went to my kids. They're working in the business with me.
Right.
I said, y'all want to take over the business? If something happens to me, we need to make a game plan. Nobody wanted no parts of it. They didn't want to go. No, they didn't want no parts. Why? Because Daddy ran everything. They don't know what's happening. You know what I mean?
Right.
Collectively, they can figure it out, but being able to put the pieces of the puzzle together to where they could keep on making money, it really wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go to a doctor's appointment, right? And I don't know what to do. I go to my doctor's appointment. I come back and I walk through the lobby. There's a guy sitting in the chair with a suit on. I go, oh shit, what's this, the IRS? what I do now? Right? And you know, I was always saying a little prayer going along, right? How am I going to work this out?
Right.
And the guy says, he gave me the card. He said, I'm so-and-so from this industrial group. We buy businesses. I go, where did this come from? Right? So I go, what am I going to do here? He goes, do you want to sell your business? I said, well, do you have any idea what it's worth? Because I said, I don't know how they've factored that in.
Right.
I'll just working to be working, right? All I knew is I made payroll. You know,
Right.
I was allowed to go racing. That's all. I did it good.
Right.
So anyway, he come in and we worked out all the numbers detail, right? And he said, I said, look, when I go, if I come back, that's fine. If I don't come back, I want to make sure that Jamie's working, Brian's working, and Michelle's working. Michelle works in the office. Jamie works in a body shop. Brian does all the painting.
Right.
Okay? So we negotiated a deal. And I felt okay. So we went out. I got the operation. It took me a year to come back. I mean, literally a year. I had to learn how to walk and talk, and it was just a mess. Okay? When I finally got to where I came back to work, it was like almost a year. Jamie had already left and went commercial diving. He couldn't stand working for the people. Okay? Because I gave them the key to the castle. When I say that, I mean I gave them how to do the accounts, how to buy the materials, how to move it through the shop, how to do the sales, everything. I gave them pretty much a roadmap of how to keep the business making money. Well, one of the first things they did was I used to rebuild front ends. I would have 10 front ends out there that were crashed. And I had to deal with Ryder. They had 20 of the same trucks in there. When they messed up a front end, I already had one fixed, ready to go back, and I'd take theirs in exchange, and I would fix them again and keep the cycle going. So I always had front ends out there, right? If you were, I mean, I had other people would call me for front ends because they knew I had them, or and that was a valuable part of the business.
Right.
Okay? They came in with a bulldozer and crushed all the front ends and threw them in the dumpster because they didn't like the way it looked. Then I had a dumpster, not a dumpster, a container full of all the bus parts, because I did all of GSA, I did all Norfolk buses, I did a bunch of bus companies, and I had to keep panels, windows, rub rails, bumpers. I kept all that shit in a container so that if City of Norfolk came in with a bus that needed a panel on the side, boom, boom, 2 days, they got it back, painted, ready to go. I didn't have to wait 2 months to get parts.
Get parts, yeah.
What did they do? Oh, they didn't like that operation. They went in with a dumpster, took all that shit out, threw it in the dumpster. I said, man, I can't tell you nothing. So anyway, that was kind of the not the straw that broke the camel's back, but that was kind of an indication that there was some real problems there. And of course, when I came back, they wanted me to come back to work. So I came back to work there, and of course, that was real short-lived. So then the next thing you know, I got Brian in my ear. Dad, let's open another business. I'm done. I'm 65 years old. I'm done. I'm gone. I'm retired. Or 67, whatever I was, 66. I said, I can't do this no more. I said, you want to do it? I'll give you whatever you need. I'll help you fund it. I'll do what I can do, right? But I'm on non-compete. I can't do nothing no way. So it's going to have to be your business, okay? All this kind of turned into, we rented the place on Yadkin Road. Did you ever see that place?
No, I never been over there.
Okay, Brian wanted it. He worked at a dealership, and he knew how dealerships work, and he wanted to open a small place to do nothing but cars. I said, Brian, I can't make any money that way.
Right.
He goes, what do you mean? I said, there's a formula that works. I said, you cannot get but so much volume out of a 5,000 square foot building. You can't put enough stuff in and get it out to make it make sense. And you can have nobody working for you. It's just, the math doesn't lie. It's just really, really hard to make a living. That's why a lot of these small body shops, these small, they never go nowhere, and they never excel, and they eventually, a lot of them, 50% of them that ever start out, they lose.
And that makes...
So I went to this approach. I said, well, find us a building, 5,000, more than 5,000, probably 10,000 square feet, and I'll show you how we can make money. I said, I'm going to give it all to you. I'll give you all my resources, and I'll work in it. I said, we'll get Jamie in. We'll get everybody back working, right? So we basically rented a 12,000 square foot building. We put a paint booth in it. We put air compressors in it. We bought all new shit, right? Jacks, all this other shit. We put the whole package together. And we went from the red in 3 months to the black. Every one of my customers that found out that we opened another place came running to us because the other place was doing such crappy work. I could tell you this week alone, being here, this week alone, we got 2 customers that they ruined over there. They ruined my name. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? So I'm happy that it worked out that way because that's the end result. So anyway, we did that for 6 years. Our projected time to make a move would have been 6 years, okay? We were going to renew our lease, but the guy didn't want to make the improvements to the building because we were out of space in 2 months. We couldn't have I was backlogged 2 months. Couldn't get the work in, couldn't get it out. And we're working day and night, all of us. We're busting our ass. So we negotiated some deals with the paint company, and we scrabbled everything we could do. Brian put all his ducks in a row, and we started looking for property. So everywhere we went that I needed to be on the main drag or where industrial building, it was all screwed up, right? Because everybody wanted $250,000 an acre. Some idiot in Chesapeake wanted to charge us $4 million to build a 5,000 square foot building and on 4 acres of land, and 2 acres of it was a BMP. I said, you lost your mind. I can't do nothing with that. And it was right next door to Excel Truck. It would have been perfect. I would have got all the paint and body work from Excel Truck.
Right.
They could have just arrived next door. Anyway, I couldn't negotiate the deal. We found this place for $120 an acre. We made a deal on this place, and we went to everyone that we knew, all of my suppliers, all the trucking companies, all of the sand people, all the concrete companies, all of the builders, all the fabricators, all the electricians. We pulled all our resources from everybody we knew and all our connections together. And we built this building. And we built it in a year. And it would have been done faster except for we didn't know a lot of the ins and outs about the city.
Right.
And they pulled some shitty stuff on us.
Codes and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. They made us change the front of the building, and they made us put a lanai out there. And the guy next door ain't got one. Why do we have to do it? So they played us.
Right.
Okay, so it cost us another almost $100,000 to make the upgrades that they need. And the goofy shit like the city, the fire department, for instance. We got a fire hydrant across the street. They want us to move the fire hydrant in front of our building. I said, hold on a minute. I work on fire trucks all the time. They got 500 foot of hose. Why do I got to move the fire hydrant 40 feet?
Right.
They said, you got to because you're a body shop and you know, you might have a big fire and you got to put it out, right?
All the flammables and all of that.
That cost us $35,000. Stuff like that. We weren't prepared for that, but we did it, overcome it. We came in and did a lot of the build out, all the painting and stuff like that. Brian and I, Jamie, we threw down. We did it.
This is a major shop. I would have never thought that y'all had this type of business by seeing you at the racetrack. This is the biggest building I ever seen far as that does any type of body work. I grew up around body shops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Coming up, and then I had a towing service
Right.
for 15 years. So I dealt with a lot of body shops.
Yeah.
And they've been little ones. This like the Mega from what I've seen. I don't know of none.
There's two classifications of body shops, basically. You got car shops, and then you got truck shops that do trucks and motorhomes and stuff like that.
Right.
Those are two different entities.
Right.
We got everything under one roof.
That's my point. And then
we do everything. You run out of time yet?
No.
Okay.
And then for y'all to do race cars, when I heard of y'all, I thought that's all y'all did was race cars. Until when I came out here.
Oh my God! Let me tell you, you have no idea.
I know, and I'm trying to let the world know that Three Guns Custom.
So when you're doing graphic work, you need to have a printer.
Right.
Right. So Brian gets on this kick. We gotta have a vinyl shop. Right. So we go to East Jesus and we buy this guy's shop that's going out of business, and we incorporate that into this business. That's what this.
Right.
Of course, we still spent another couple $100,000 on it, get it where it's at right now. But but at least that was a viable part of the equation, right? When we built the building, we laid everything out. What was going to go where? Who was going to do what? How this had. We spend months calculating all this out so that everything works like it's supposed to.
Right.
Okay, so with that said, we got a vinyl shop. We can do all kinds of wraps, rolls, everything. Then we got the body shop with the frame machine. We can do all kinds of, we can do quarter panels. We can do fabricating. I got all kinds of welding shit. I can build anything.
That's what I was going to say. Just say anything, because I'm like, I walked around, y'all showed me around the shop, but I still haven't seen every inch. But just knowing that how big the building is and what I see outside and what I see that y'all work on, it's a one-shop stop.
Yeah. And then you got, then after you incorporate the body shop part of it or the fabricating shop, then you got the paint shop. There's a 65-foot paint booth back there.
Already know, Brian. Y'all can put a tractor trailer in. Brian showed me that.
It could be 30 degrees outside. And the vehicle could have been out there all night, and I could pull it in the paint booth, crank up that 7 million BTU heater, and in 30 minutes I'm ready to paint.
Right. And that's.
Not everybody got that shit, dude.
Nah.
I'm telling you right now. Truck Center in Richmond ain't got that shit.
So
we got the badass shit. We got the badass shit. We can get it done.
Right.
Now, another thing, like you said, we do all kinds of stuff.
Right.
We're always getting projects. We got one right now. This job right here. One of the local dealerships wanted to make a truck that they could do mobile tire repair on and all that kind of stuff. So there's all kinds of fabricating. We've got to reinforce the floor, got to install a generator, got to cut and modify the machines so they fit in there, all kinds of goofy shit. People know us for that. We got tow companies.
Right.
Okay, I used to install wreckers and rollbacks. so I know the
Okay.
whole inner workings of that.
Oh, okay.
The whole deal. Okay? I get them come here with the messed up frames because they got rollback guys that don't know how to put the
Car on
legs
the bed.
down before
Right.
they put, you know,
Yeah.
overweight the truck. And they
Right.
break into frames.
Right.
They come here, we fix that shit. All kinds of little stuff like that we have done and we continue to do is kind of our niche. You know what I'm saying? Like we got your car in,
Oh,
we could
yeah.
jump on it and fix your car. We
Right.
could build your car if we had to.
Right, yeah, and you did. I felt bad breaking it back another time, but I said, what better place to break it than to the people that took it, that made it the $6 million man before. And to touch on that, man, I really appreciate y'all doing it the first time and as well as the second time, you know, because both times I was ready to give up. And y'all was like, nah, just bring it to us, we'll take care of it. And I was like, I really wanted somebody to say, yeah, that's enough, you know.
Totally.
Yeah, totally, you know.
Well, but we said, no, we'll fix it.
Yeah, y'all fix it. And let me ask you, why did y'all decide to jump on it and fix it?
Well, we had a couple things. We wanted to help you out. You know, we didn't want you to go out like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we realized we had to charge you something, but, you know, we kind of stretched the envelope. We just hired Thomas, which is your carbon fiber guy.
Okay.
Right? And we wanted to keep him busy too. So I said, we got enough work to keep busy, but this will help. You know, we could put that in the mix and things will go much quicker. So
Right.
it kind of helped us along the way. It wasn't like we did it just to help you out.
Right.
We helped ourselves too.
Right, yeah.
So it was benefits on both sides, and it was good for both parties.
Right. And you know, people ask me, you know, about Styles. They did a good job with yards. You think they work on mine? I said, you got to call them. You might not get my deal, but when you leave out of there, it's going to be right. You know, and
Okay, here's the thing about that. And a lot of guys don't realize this. You get what you pay for.
yes.
Okay, but with the cost of paint materials right now, the cost of labor, cost of overhead, that it costs to do any job.
Right.
I don't care if it's a collision on a car, a race car, or truck, or ambulance, fire truck, whatever. There's still some kind of cost involved in that. Now, there's certain guys that can do this because they do that shit at their house.
Right.
Okay? So then they only got the cost of the material,
Right.
which is totally different than having this
Yeah.
machine
Right.
that you got to feed every week.
Right.
Okay, so, but even with that said, we're not going to take your car in and do a half-ass job because it costs the same amount of money to do it right as it does to do it half-ass because the material price don't never change.
I know.
And the labor don't ever change.
Right. Yeah.
And your cost of overhead no change.
Right.
So, and I pattern myself around when people come in here, I flat tell them, if you can't afford it, don't want to do it right, then you need to go to Mako. AJ down the street at Mako, I send work to him. People come in and want these cheap paint jobs. I can't do it.
Right.
Okay, so I literally sometimes send work to him in lieu of doing a job I know I'm going to lose money on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's only certain people in the fold that get that deal.
Right.
You know who they are, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so to do a good paint job right now on any car, let's say it's a steel car, it's not so bad to do a steel car versus a carbon car or a fiberglass car because there's different techniques involved in that process.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got to strip a steel car, no big deal.
Right.
You got to strip a carbon car or a fiberglass car,
Right.
you better know what you're doing
Right.
because you'll destroy the car.
Right.
Okay? So you got to have good technicians and they cost you money.
Yeah.
But a steel paint job nowadays starts around $15,000. Okay? On about most everything, unless it's a big car or a custom color.
Right.
Okay? So that custom color might add $2,000, might add $10,000 to the price, depending on what somebody wants. If they start talking House of Colors and Radiance and all this other crazy shit,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, that's when it runs up. So that's why the prices are what are. But I can guarantee you this: that if somebody brings a car there, they get what they paid for.
Right.
They get the right job, the way it's supposed to be done.
Right.
And you've seen our stuff go out of here. We go out of our way to make our shit, because I don't want. You're only as good as your last job.
Yeah.
I'm not putting no shit out there and put my name on it. Oh,
Right.
hell no. You take that shit down the road, I put my name on that.
I get a lot of people when they see it, and they see. I like to show them the pictures when it was tore up, and when it, like I did a live last night, to
Right.
show everybody the car at home on jack stands and show the lines and everything. And I still am amazed of how well y'all put the car back together.
Oh, dude,
like
that
it
was a
the-
jigsaw puzzle.
I know. That's why I
My
was asking
God.
y'all for the pieces to let
He had
everybody.
to make shit to make up for shit
Right.
that wasn't there.
Yeah, I ain't mean to make y'all get up to do all that work, but to see it done, you know, and I feel good about being able to say that y'all did it. Three Guns Customs did
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
I know y'all
And
don't need the
sometimes, now look,
business.
if somebody comes in and they don't want the car stripped, and they know that the longevity may not be 2 years, or it might not be 10 years, it might only be 2 years, and they want to make that call,
Right.
you know, I might bend the rules a little bit here and there,
Right.
but on a lot of this stuff, you gotta look at it and say, this is gonna come back on you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, guys that brought front ends to me, carbon front ends, that are just a serious problem. They fixed it wrong. They didn't use epoxy resins. They didn't use Cavasil. They didn't use, they used polyester resin with fiberglass on top of carbon. And
Right.
and there's all these little issues that somebody else has fixed. Or they'll put Bondo in it, or they'll put Tiger Hair in it where it's supposed to have glass or car. I mean, there's a lot of things that people can throw monkey wrench in the job. And you
Right.
don't know that until after it's painted 6 months from now and a crack shows up.
Right.
And you go, oh, what the hell happened? Well, they didn't want me to strip it.
Right.
Okay? I've had that happen in the past. So I try to stay away from as much as that as I can, but it still happens every now and then, but just deal with it. You know what I mean? Just do
Right.
the best you can, and always treat the customer like you would want to be treated.
Yeah, that's number
Give
one.
them the fairest price you can give them, and get it back to them as best you can, as fast as you can. And that's all you can ask. And people will bring more customers.
Right.
More business will come in that way than any other way.
Yeah.
So I'm digging that.
So you back part time.
I go to Florida from November to April, and I go to all the winter series in Florida. I go to Bradenton and go to
Right.
Orlando. I go to the heli events.
Did you make it
Torches.
Did you make it to the World Series?
Of course.
Oh, I ain't see you there.
I was
We
there.
was there. We was there. I was there.
I was riding my little yellow scooter around. I'm
Oh, was
surprised you
you?
didn't see me.
Yeah. Nah, I didn't.
I go to those events because I can go in, and if somehow, if somebody that's going that's there, sometimes they need help. Sometimes I'll hang out with them or whatever,
Right.
but I don't have a problem doing that. I like staying involved.
Right. I like that too. I like that. I like being around y'all, being around LJ and them, and Billy and them. And I learn a lot, and just to be able to lend a hand, I will. But to be able just to see the behind the scenes that a lot of people that's in the stands, or these guys that have the no time cards or whatever, that think they know what they know, but they don't see what I see. You know what I mean? And I see the day-to-day operations around and around. I know where the fuse is, like who, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of that going on, but you don't see it.
Yeah.
And that keeps me around.
Plus, you get to mingle and get the information, and you get to meet people that you
Right.
probably wouldn't have. You spend time with Phil Schuler or Stevie Fast.
Like Ricky Smith, Tommy Payne works with Ricky Smith now.
You know what I'm saying?
I used to hear that years ago, and I was like, Ricky, and then now Tommy works with him. Tommy turned me on, I hang around out with them, and I learn, I watch him, and I see how he is just
those guys are a wealth of knowledge.
Yes.
If I could be tied to Todd Tuttero's hip for a month I'd be running blower motors.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Because I'd have it down pat.
Right.
I'd get that inside skin.
And that's how I learn a lot from, Sometimes I don't want to give up all information, but sometimes I say, okay, well, they learn, I learn, why not pass it? But some people don't listen to you because, oh, where's your delivery? I mean, well, I'm delivering the message the easiest way for you to understand. Even if you don't understand,
Sure.
You can understand it this way because I'm giving it to you straight, and don't worry about where I got it from. Do it sound right. Because, I mean, you can weed out when somebody's shooting you some bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're always going to have somebody try to feed you a line of shit. But,
right,
all right, so touching on the program a little bit.
Yes.
I didn't ask you about this before, but I know you said you wanted to keep the field down to 18, 16, 18, 20 cars.
Yes.
And that's your magical number.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping like hell that the way you set it up, it looks like it's going to work.
Right.
That whole getting more 4840 cars involved.
Well, it's not me wanting to get them involved. They've been hitting me up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. As soon as you took the blower cars out of the
boost cars. We took the boost cars out.
Right.
Yeah.
When you took that out of the equation and made it fair for them,
yeah.
Guess what?
What?
Ain't going to be no 2 cars showing up for the event.
Oh,
you ain't going to be paying out $10,000 for 4 cars to show up.
Right, nah.
That ain't going to happen. Yeah. You eliminated that problem.
Right. And what I seen, guys would call me, like Brian Miner coming in. Brian Miner got 2 cars running in it. It's a couple of other people. Marquez, they bringing his car in it. We get more cars come in, but when I've been doing like the math and looking at the
and
car.
Mark's got some other cars he's tuning, he's bringing in too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I already know, and that's just looking at the DMV, that we should have close to 32 cars. Well, we might have to split the class up, 16 here, 16 there, you know what I mean? Which is good because now for no time you got a lot of different cars, but if we get to the part where, because I've been monitoring, we got more 484s than anything, and everybody think, oh, well, I'm going to get this. What the guys come to me and tell me, Styles, I'm building me a 484 so I can get a spot. I was like, look, you might not draw the spot. You know what I mean? Because we got roughly close to 16 484s, 12 to 16, I think. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Right. So the average, you might end up running heads up all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then the next amount of more cars we have is the 5-inch, probably like 6 to 8 of those. So, and it's a lot of those combinations that haven't happened, but when we have more than one, more like we have in the 484, those are the ones going to end up running each other heads up. But the thing about it is good because most of the I would say all the 484s that run with us are in the same area code.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's really going to depend on how well
they all know each other.
Right. Or how well your program is to get down the track and how well you cut that tree, because it's going to be that close.
And that's going to be important when it comes to the game.
Right. And so, we didn't rule out blower cars, but I didn't get the car count. You know what I mean? For the blower cars, I wanted to open up for everybody.
Right.
Because I was always trying to do car count because that's what make a show.
But it's just like we always said. If you keep it to nitrous, you're going to get more cars.
Yeah.
And if you could keep it to 484 or 5 inches, you're going to get more cars.
Well,
there's a lot of guys that don't want it. Now,
it's looking that way now.
I'll say this, and I'm not throwing no names out there.
Okay, go ahead.
But if we had some competitive 5.3 cars out there wouldn't be no 484 cars to even try. If they would have done, if they would have done what they were supposed to do, and they would have ran like they were supposed to do, because there's a lot of guys that had some nice shit they can't get out of their own way.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they would have showed up and done what they were supposed to do, 4A car said, I ain't messing with that shit. Just like the blowers.
Right.
Just even though Walker was what he was, even him just being consistent and doing that.
Yeah.
He still made him look like he was a superstar, which he is a good guy.
No,
He's a superstar.
He is.
But as far as running people away, more people walked away from that than came in the fold. You can't deny that. And it's always happened. It's just like Big Dog.
Right.
When they allowed the 5.3s to come in,
and the blowers.
you went from 40 cars trying to qualify to a little over 20.
Right.
And I've seen it in the last couple years. I've seen them where they barely had 8 cars.
Struggling. struggling. They just struggled.
They
this
did it
time.
themselves.
Yeah, they
Now,
did.
it's not that it's for whatever reason, I don't really want to, make a
into
big deal out of that. But think about the spectators.
Right.
They went from seeing cars after cars after cars to
I know.
now you promoting a race. Ain't that what it's about?
Right.
To get asses in the seats?
Asses in the seats.
Well, how do you get asses in the seat? Put on a good show. I cannot stand when I go to an event and there's nobody running the show.
Right. That's
My
number one.
God.
Cause people come to me, Styles, what's going on? I'm in the pit working on my car. I don't know. If I don't hear no cars going on the track, maybe something's on the track. But if there ain't nothing on the track that's wasted,
Two things that happen when you don't orchestrate the program.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time you won't finish.
Right.
And you'll have delays, you'll have breakdowns, you'll have all that shit. So you'll have problems with that. So
Right.
that intensifies when you're not organized,
Right.
right? But the fans are standing there for how long? I mean, I've been in the stands myself, sitting there for 45 minutes to an hour and nothing happening.
I know. That's the worst there.
If it's in the wintertime or spring or fall, it's not too bad because you're not. In the dead of August, July and August, you're sitting there sweating. You're just sitting there sweating.
For no reason.
Please let something happen. And I see people get out the stands, hop in their car, and go home.
Yeah.
And the worst one, and I told, I want Larry to succeed. He's one of the best guys for the sport that I know.
Right.
The most dedicated, really likes it. He's a good guy on top of that.
You're talking about Larry Tees.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If he doesn't move that program around like that and get the right cars in and get a good show in there, how many times when Richie Clark had that place did you ever see that happen?
Not the times I was going down there.
I can't ever remember it.
That's
I'm telling you right now, I seen Richie Clark run a car down there when they were cleaning the right lane. I'm just saying.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
That makes a difference when you want to get return, when you want to fill the stands.
Yeah. You got to have action. And you
Now,
can't just have
how
any
about
action.
the whole Lions, Tigers, and Bear thing?
Mm-hmm.
Started out, lots of promotion, gangbang. They ruined the program. Second year, it got worse.
Yeah.
Third year, I want to give it up because I ain't making no money. I'm sorry about your problems. You did it.
Right.
No.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. You gotta. My motto on that is, you gotta have headliners because that's what people come to see. But then you gotta have the undercards. That's
Right.
everything. And at a drag racing track, when I go to drag racing, I want to constantly hear something going down that track.
Absolutely.
Something. When I hear silence,
Eh,
it's
I'm telling you right now, if you have a breakdown or oil down, get a guy out there in a clown suit shooting T-shirts into the fans.
I know.
I don't
know.
care.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
something to occupy it. Get some people in the stands selling T-shirts and drinks, or bringing drinks to them or something like they do at a baseball game.
Right. Yeah. And you know
Carry
what?
your
You're
hot
bringing
dogs
up
out.
some good ideas.
Them guys make a fortune.
Yeah.
Hustling hot dogs and drinks, popcorn.
Yeah.
I'm serious. You'd be surprised how that helps people. They don't want to get out. They don't want to get out and walk to the concession stand because there's 400 people over there waiting to get a hot dog.
Yeah.
But yet, if somebody comes by with drinks and, oh my God, dude, come
If-
over here. Here's $50.
If we have more more road racers, more fans, more everybody that say a lot of things like what you just said, speak up about how you spend, like me as a fan, spend my money, I'm going to always say, like what you're saying, this is what I want to see for my money. You know what I mean? And show me some action. Really, I don't care what two cars going down the racetrack because you never know what's going to happen. You
Sure.
might see a slow
Sure,
car
sure.
and a fast car.
Right.
I like the upsets, you know what I mean, and the unexpected, but to see nothing, So I know you've been around for a long time.
I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes.
I know.
I mean, over the years, I watched spectators. Even at Big Dog, if I go out first round, I'm sitting in the stands listening to people.
Right? Yeah, I hear it a
listen
lot
to what
too.
they say and all that kind of stuff. And I'm telling you, for a long time, when Bob and them changed that shit up and let 5.3s come in there, oh yeah, look at how fast that car is, but oh, there was only one of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well he won 3 of the races, you know, or some stupid shit. I mean, come on. It's you got to play to your audience for sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah. Well, Jim, man, it's been good talking to you, scratching your brain. Y'all got a tremendous shop around here. The ride is not that bad. I mean, you'll go wherever you need to go. I travel 5 hours, 4.5 hours to go take my motor to Brett. It ain't about how far I got to go. It's what I get for what I pay for.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I went from Port St. Lucie to Darlington to watch Anthony get down the track twice.
Right, you know.
And then turn around and drove right back.
Right, but that's because it's in your blood, like you said
Oh,
earlier.
yeah,
It's a
I know,
drug,
man.
and you know. So you got any last words for everybody?
I would say to everybody, keep the faith, and the guys that are going to start this new program, stay on top of your maintenance, try to keep your stuff together, and don't take any shortcuts. Make sure safety equipment is paramount in the program. And by all means, if you can afford to have spare shit in the trailer, you know, always keep spark plugs and fuel and fittings, you know, get a box full of shit. Go around and collectively and have stuff, nuts and bolts or whatever. Make sure you have tools in the trailer to work on your shit. So if something small, minor comes up, you can fix it.
Right.
And do your maintenance before you get there,
Yeah.
so that your ducks are in a row. You know, shit still happens even if you do
Yeah,
it, but
right.
at least you're not going to show up at a racetrack and figure out you left the spark plugs home.
You know, I left my worst thing I did in my time, and we're going to end it with this one. I had a grudge race up Capitol and forgot my door. I opened up the trailer and routine, and the first thing I do when I open the trailer was I bring the door out.
Yeah.
Wasn't no door. I said, oh my, good thing I was there, and I only lived probably like less than 30
you only
minutes from
live far away.
Capitol.
Well,
and I had my son.
crazy shit happens, but what I used to do is I would make a checklist of things that when we got ready to leave the house,
Right.
I had a checklist. My nitrous bottles were full, my fuel jugs were full, my
Right.
spark plugs were in there where they're supposed to be. Anything, transmission fluid, whatever, they're all ready to go.
Right.
So I made them, which it was just Luke at the time. We'd do the checklist, make sure we have brake clean in the trailer. You don't
Right.
realize how important that is.
Oh yeah, you need that.
Rags,
Yeah,
you know, make sure I got, you know, the towels are in there in place. So we had that checklist that we used to do before race events that is stuck on the indoor of the trailer, and if we needed something in the middle time, I'd take a dry eraser marker and I'd put it on the wall and we need to replace it. So when I came back, I would replace what we needed.
Right.
So, I mean, that's important in being successful.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that is, whoever you got, if you're a driver and you're very astute at driving and you know where you are in the car and all that kind of stuff and you don't need anybody, still have a good team.
Right.
Have somebody, this nitrous cars, have somebody that's checked out on the nitrous bottles. Make sure they're 850, 900 pounds when they're supposed to be, because, you know, all of that changes.
Right.
Okay? Whoever's maintaining the bottles, if it's hot out, you know, don't put them into the, you know, you
Right.
you gotta be cognizant of all of that.
Right.
But you need to have a guy that's going to do your tires and do your nitrous bottles, or one guy that's going to do your parachutes and keep the car clean, or one guy that's going to do the fuel and the nitrous bottles, or whatever. However that works out the most efficient for you,
Right.
you need to make sure that you do that same thing every time. Exact same thing every time. So if you get a new guy in, don't let him upset the apple cart. Give him a job to do, and that's it. We still got our guys to do what we do.
Right.
And then you won't have issues. So when you go to starting line, you know somebody forgot the air gauge or forgot to check the tires, or nitrous bottles are at 1,200 pounds. Oh, what am I going to do now? Right?
Right. So y'all gonna make the first race May the 23rd?
Well, you see the
24th?
car in there, right?
No, I ain't seen it yet, but I'm quite. Y'all get it done. It's $10,000 reason why.
I know it's a reason why,
Y'all,
but
no, I'm just saying the 10,000. Y'all get it together.
I don't know. We'll see. We're
You
going to
will.
try to do.
We need you there. We need you there.
I might end up slipping a 484 motor in there.
Do whatever you got to do. That's what everybody else doing. You know what I mean? Get it done. So, all right, Jim, thank you. And thanks for all the work on the #1 grudge agent and bringing us into your shop. And we're going to do a little something survey of the shop, you know, and everything. Commercial. Brian wanted a commercial done.
Okay.
I told him need to be done, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So that we can start shooting that doing Marky's live streaming that he does in under no time.
That'd be nice if you could incorporate the commercial in that. We'll give Trope something Marky's way.
We're getting it done.
There you go.
You know. All right.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right,
it's
brother.
been real.
Yep.
We see y'all the next one. Tell